What is up, everybody? Welcome to Week 8 Millie Maker Roundtable. I'm DraftCheat, and you are here on the Run for Your Sports channel, breaking down all things Week 8 NFL for Millie Maker, both on DraftKings and FanDuel. And yeah, should be a fun Week 11 game slate, joined by the usual crew, SNYDER and Locks. Locks, we missed you last week. How did Week 7 treat you, and what do you think of Week 8 going into it?
Yeah, Week 7 wasn't the best, but not the worst thing ever. Had a couple injuries that kind of bit me in the butt a little bit. Amon-Ra going down kind of hurt. DK Metcalf kind of hurt, but that's DFS for us. I mean, it happens all the time. You just got to hope you dodge the bullets sometimes. So went okay. I think I broke even, maybe lost a little bit, something like that, but nothing major, nothing that hurt too much. Just looking forward to diving into another week. Missed you guys last week. I told SNYDER before the show it felt like it was forever, and it was only 1 week, but glad to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you back. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown in both of my DraftKings FanDuel cores in the main lineup. So that was a painful one on his, what was like the first touch of the game, a 4-yard catch. Yeah, well, I think he'll play. Have we got confirmation if he'll play? I'm not sure, but it didn't look too bad. Like I think it would have been one of those where he probably would have stayed in the game if not for the Tua stuff earlier on in the season. But those are the breaks. It happens sometimes. You know, if you're playing DFS long enough, you're going to have injuries affect your lineups. It is what it is. So we're on to Week 8. SNYDER, how was your Week 7? What do you think of Week 8 going into it?
Yeah, I was pretty much in the same bucket as you. I had some really good spots around the two injuries. I had a lot of ASB, and then DK Metcalf really was hurtful going into the late slate. I had a lot of PMR. Like I played a lot of Jacobs and a lot of Eckler, and that was looking good. But DK going down early after ASB going down early was definitely hurtful.
Yeah, I had a lot of Breece Hall as well, so that was another painful one, especially after he got to that good start. Yeah. So wasn't the best week for me, but we'll try to do better in Week 8. We will go game by game. We'll follow the DraftKings order of games if you're following along at home. You can open up any contest, and we'll go by the order that they have them listed. So with that, let's jump right into it. First game on the slate, Carolina and Atlanta. It is Atlanta who are 4-point home favorites here. Obviously, Carolina had the Christian McCaffrey trade last week. This week is going to be Baker Mayfield back behind center. I believe so. The Carolina Panthers obviously down to kind of a shell of their roster. We finally saw DJ Moore have a decent game last week. Locks 10 targets, 7 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. They don't got a lot left, especially with McCaffrey out of there. They're not going to throw the ball his way. And then Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard both looked okay kind of in McCaffrey's absence, but Hubbard did go down, so it should be Donta Foreman who gets probably a large majority of the work here, you would think. So some interesting plays, I think, on the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta continues to run the ball really more than anybody. Even last week when they lost, they just continued to run the ball. It's pretty weird. So guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts kind of cooling on those guys quite a bit. So your thoughts here, Carolina and Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm not going to have too much exposure to this one. Just don't see many pieces I really like. If Baker's back, I don't know. Then I might be only interested in Foreman, to be honest with you. I have a slight interest in DJ Moore just because, like you said, they don't have anybody else. I mean, if they're throwing the ball, it's pretty much going to be to him. That's pretty much it for the most part. On the other side, I'll sprinkle in a little bit of this Falcons offense, but like I said, I'm not too high. I think the highest guy I'll be on this game, which is pretty much where everybody will be at, is Deontay Foreman. Other than that, I'm not too high in this game at all.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't think you have to go to this game if you don't want to, SNYDER. Foreman, I think, is the most interesting play, but kind of like last week, running back is pretty loaded this week. I think we're going to see some big scores out of running backs. Certainly Foreman could join those guys. Your thoughts here, SNYDER, on Atlanta and Carolina?
Yeah, I think Foreman is definitely interesting. It's a road team, though, and a really low total, so I'm not sure. I think if he's going to come in that high owned, which I think he could approach like 20%, if he does that, I think I may have to jump off him this week. I think there is like a lot of good running backs, like you said. So there is a lot of opportunity cost that goes into some of these guys. You got to make sure to get the right ones mixed in. So I think I may be off of Foreman. Then if he's going to see upwards of 20%, I think I'll just X him out of there. Looking at the receivers, we've got DJ Moore. He's priced low 5Ks. He's going to be like one of the top cash options that people are going to go to. 10 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets, 11 targets last 4 games. I mean, the target share is definitely there for him. So I think he's a guy I'll be plugging in my cash games and like some single entries. But I think I'll be under on him in the larger field tournament. So going in. So, I mean, with this low total, I realize it is a dome game, but I think there's some other games I'm just more looking forward to targeting this week. So I think I'm going to be underweight on this game and the 2 chalkier guys outside of like cash games.
Yeah, it makes sense. I will have the kind of the main guys from this one sprinkled in. I'll have some Foreman. I'll have some DJ Moore. Not on the same team. I would separate those two. I just don't think there's going to be enough scoring in this game to really support, 2 guys who are negative.
You're going to play Kyle Pitts. He's down to 4K. I don't think he's cheap enough yet, though.
I mean, this could be a week to play because tight end is, no Kelsey, no Andrews on the slate. So, at least in theory, he's got upside. But in practice, hasn't really shown up. Hard guy to click on, even at 4K, to be honest. That's Carolina and Atlanta. I'll have some DJ Moore, some Hubbard, like I said, or down to Foreman rather. Hubbard is out. Let's go to the next game on the slate. Another relatively low total here. Chicago and Dallas, 42.5 total. Dallas 10-point favorites. Kind of a lot to discuss here. Obviously, the biggest piece of news by far, maybe on the entire slate, Ezekiel Elliott probably going to miss this game. He's doubtful to play. I'd be surprised if he went at this point. Should be Tony Pollard, who I think potentially could get all the work. Even I believe their third string running back is also out for Dallas. So they're bringing a couple guys, I think, off the practice squad. Pollard's been really pretty damn good whenever he's gotten an opportunity, both running, receiving. Chicago has been gashed by running backs for the most part. So you got to love Tony Pollard. He's going to be popular, 6,100, but one of those backs that we were talking about being an excellent play. Cowboys, of course, have Dak Prescott back, the usual suspects, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, maybe Dalton Schultz will play, but really it's going to be the Tony Pollard show, or at least that's kind of the general consensus. I'm on board with that. I think he's going to have a strong game here. Chicago side, really haven't played many Bears at all this year, and probably am not going to do it this week. Justin Fields did look much better last game, though, against New England. It looks like the Bears have perhaps started to maybe figure something out. Look at the last 2 games. Fields' rushing attempts, 14 and 12. So maybe some rushing upside there. He did have a good game against New England, but going on the road, tough defense against Dallas, and a little bit of a short week for Chicago has me pretty lukewarm on most of their guys. Snyder, let's go to you here first with Chicago. Thoughts on Tony Pollard as chalk, and then anything else in this game?
Yeah, I think Pollard's in a great situation here. I think the way I'm going to kind of look to get different when playing him, though, is I'm going to play him with the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defense are priced up to 4K, but I think, man, against this Bears offense, they're riding high after that last win on Monday off the short week coming in. I think this is a spot where the Dallas defense could just annihilate them, Micah Parsons and them. So I definitely like that going after. I mean, I still don't think Justin Fields is that good. So now he's going to be going up against this pass rush. So definitely like the Cowboys defense, because I don't think many people are going to go up that high. Yeah, they'll play Pollard, but I think they're going to play a lot of these cheaper defenses like most people do. So I think that's kind of a way to get a little different by doing that. I do like Michael Gallup some for tournaments. He was shadowed by the Lions stud cornerback last week for some reason. He was following Gallup around rather than Lamb, so I think that's why Gallup kind of had the down game last week. But I think this is a great spot for Gallup to come in at maybe 2 or 3% ownership here, and I think that's good leverage off of Pollard. And then another play for Dallas is Dalton Schultz. Like we just mentioned earlier, how the tight end position isn't that good. Schultz had 7 catches in that first game with Dak earlier this year. He had 5 catches last week, so I think Schultz is definitely an interesting option at under 4K here. 3,700 is very cheap. It's very accessible. So I'm going to be looking to play Schultz in some tournament lamps for sure.
Yeah, he's kind of sneaky. Listed as questionable. I do expect him to go, but like you said, just didn't get really involved when Cooper Rush was behind center. But yeah, Dak Prescott does love throwing him the ball. I just don't see a shootout here happening, so I don't really want to go to too much Dallas. I'll be sticking to mostly Tony Pollard myself. What are your thoughts here, Lux? I think you're muted. Locks are muted.
Oh, rookie move. Rookie move.
Working on those NBA lineups. I get it.
Yeah, trying to pay attention to injury news too.
Yeah.
My bad. No, I'm with you guys on this game pretty much. The Bears had a breakout game last game. I don't see it happening again. Dallas's defense is just too good. And I know we don't talk about defenses a lot on this slate. They are 4,000, but I might spend up a little bit for them because I think they just tear apart the Bears. The Bears aren't good. I think they got lucky last week. I'll have Pollard for sure. I'm definitely high on Pollard, just like everybody with Ezekiel Elliott out. He'll catch all the passes out of the backfield. He'll basically play every down, I think. I'll be on CeeDee Lamb a little bit, Michael Gallup. And then I do like Snyder's point on Schultz. Dak Prescott loves the guy. I mean, he got 5 targets last week. I think that goes up this week. He practiced in full. I know he's questionable, but I don't think there's a chance he doesn't play. So I like him a lot this week. It's pretty much it. I'm not going to be too high on the Dallas offense, but I'll sprinkle them in, and then I'll be sprinkling the Dallas D.
Yeah. The question with Pollard, I mean, at 6,100 on DraftKings, what is his price on FanDuel? I think it's relatively cheap over there too. Yeah, 6,300. Like, unless he gets hurt, he's going to have a pretty good game, right? His floor seems very high. It's just a question of the ownership. I mean, what is he going to come in? 35, 40% owned, something like that?
I think so.
And there are a lot of good running backs on the slate, right? So he could have, if he gets 17, 18 fantasy points, that's fine, but probably not enough in tournaments. So, if you're playing a lot of lineups, I wouldn't go way over the field on that 35%, but certainly I do expect him to have a good game. It's just there are other good backs too, and even with a little bit of a discount, you'll have to put up a big score to get on the optimal when it's all said and done. But yeah, he's kind of really the only play that I'm really zoning in on for Chicago and Dallas. So let's move it on to the highest total on the slate, Miami and the Detroit Lions, 51.5. This game in Detroit, which I think is kind of critical for, the shootout prospects. We've seen the Lions offense kind of come crashing back to earth. Jared Goff in his last 2 games, the Lions offense have put up 6 total points. Of course, that was in New England and in Dallas, who obviously that Dallas defense we just talked about being super good. So expected to bounce back here. Miami, 3.5-point favorites. They do have Tua back behind center. He was in there last game too against Pittsburgh. Looked pretty good in that one. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. And then, of course, we think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to play, but not certain about that. And then we do have DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, both available for Detroit. And Raheem Mostert, I think, deserves to be mentioned. Looks like he's kind of taken over most of the work for Miami, has been running pretty well for them. This Detroit defense has just been gashed by almost every team. Locks, potential shootout here between the Dolphins and the Lions. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most stacked games, if not the most.
Yeah.
And for good reason. I mean, they got a lot of pieces that can just absolutely go off in both these offenses. I mean, DeAndre Swift is back. I think they said he practiced in full. I know Amon-Ra practiced in full. So I think you're going to have both of them. It does worry me a little bit with Swift just because he's been out a few weeks. So I'll be a little cautious on him. I will have him in my pool, and I'll be high on Amon-Ra. I mean, I think 6,900 is just too cheap for him. He can absolutely break the slate. So I'll have a lot of him again. Yeah, whatever. Maybe a concussion, maybe not, but it's the way the league is now, so we got to deal with it. I'm not going to let it scare me away from him, so I'll be jamming him in a ton. On the other side, just Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. Obviously, that's going to be a very high-owned stack this week. So that's where, I don't know. I'll probably be at or under the field on that stack just because I want to get a little different in GPPs. And we're talking about winning a milli, right? So definitely going to try to not be over the field on them. And then I'll sprinkle in Mostert as well because he has taken over that backfield, and he looks very good. So I'll sprinkle him in. I'll probably have him in just to get different from that Tua, Tyreek, Waddle stack.
Yeah, I think, the casual player, right? If you open up DraftKings when you're, you're just sitting at the table or whatever, I think that Miami stack, right? That Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, or one of the two, just that's kind of the first thing that jumps out, right? The first thing that you kind of look at when you start the week. So I do think for that reason, it will be highly owned. Makes sense. I mean, this Detroit defense has been absolutely abysmal, and we've seen what can happen, in these games. I mean, this game has a potential to absolutely shoot out. Doesn't mean it will for sure, and doesn't mean you have to go there. Will be popular, SNYDER, but certainly potential for a true barn burner here. I wouldn't be shocked to see, even though the stack is chalk, I think it could come through. What are your thoughts here, SNYDER?
Yeah, I definitely like this game. I think this is another opportunity where we saw Hoop ship the Millie. What was that, week 2 or so? I think this is another one of those spots where we can stack this game fully up, overstack it up, get all the exposure you want to this. I'm definitely going to be stacking this up various different ways. The 2 ways I like getting different in the stacks, though, mainly is by Mike Gesicki. I think he's slowly getting work back in. That's back-to-back games where he's seen 7 targets. Scored a couple touchdowns 2 games ago, didn't get in the box last week, but I think he's going to be coming in under 5% owned in this stack because everybody's going to be looking to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Well, I mean, Tyreek Hill is a great play. Jalen Waddle is good. I think Jalen Waddle is interesting for tournaments more so. I think Waddle is going to come in maybe half the ownership of Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill's shown he's got that upside, but he's been showing some consistency as well over this season. So I think great play there. 8,500 is quite a bit of a price tag for Tyreek Hill. So I think maybe I'll just look to go Waddle and Gesicki or something in a game stack, kind of get a little bit different there. I do like Raheem. Big T's been talking up Mostert for quite a while. I think it's 4 straight games where he's averaged over 15 targets. Caught a passing touchdown in the receiving game last week too, so he's getting work there too. So I think Raheem's a great option under 6K. DeAndre Swift is the line I'm going to be looking to kind of get a little bit different with. I do like how he's logged full practices off the injury report now, so I definitely think it's all systems go here for Swift. He's under 7K. Probably comes in, 5 to 7%, so I think that's a great play there. So I'll be overweight on Swift. And then St. Brown, just definitely going to continue to keep riding him. This is the first time he's been under 7K since, I think, week 1, so I think this is just an absolute smash spot for St. Brown on the turf here against a bad defense. So I just absolutely love this game all the way around, and we'll be looking to stack it up lots of different ways.
Yeah, definitely a lot of ways you could stack it. If you're not on the Dolphins passing attack, I do think it does make sense to play Raheem in a bunch of those lineups because I feel like Miami is gonna move the ball here. I really think both teams will, but I just feel especially confident in the Miami side. And they're, it's just so condensed. Really, it's just kind of one running back getting all the work. They don't even really throw to a third wide receiver at all besides Hill and Waddle. And then you've got Gesicki. There's not really a second tight end there either. So, if it does go off, right, if Miami does score 4+ touchdowns, you got a pretty damn good idea, where it's going to go between, 4 different guys. And even like Tua doesn't run it in. So, yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to go to Miami. Will be a popular stack, but for good reason. I'm expecting a shootout in Detroit for sure. Detroit side, Amon-Ra's got to be the guy, right? But I do think you can look at Hawkinson, you can look at Swift. Yeah. I'd probably stick to those main guys for Detroit. We'll keep it moving. Minnesota Vikings and Arizona Cardinals. Another relatively high total here, sitting at 49. Vikings are 3.5-point home favorites. We've got Kirk Cousins in the noon window, right? When he's at home in these games, when he's got a good matchup. I always say he's kind of the ultimate front runner where if everything checks out for him, right? If he's got the clean pocket and the AstroTurf, he can put up some big games. So I'm expecting Kirk Cousins to play well here. I think Justin Jefferson has a claim, to maybe being the number 1 overall player on this slate. I love him. Dalvin Cook, of course, I think he's slowed down a little bit, but he did show that burst last week with the long touchdown run. And then on the Arizona side, we'll see. We saw the return of DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, they lost Hollywood Brown. But Hopkins looked good in that first game back. 14 targets, 10 catches, over 100 yards. He's going to have, I think, a big game for Arizona to keep up here. We got Rondale Moore, if you want to go in that direction. He's coming off a disappointing one. Zach Ertz. So a couple of different places you can go. SNYDER, we'll stick with you here. What do you see, Arizona and Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be a little contrarian on this game because I actually like the under in this game. So I think I'm going to be kind of off of this game. I'm still going to play Justin Jefferson, though. I think he's absolute a stud, one of the best, if not the best wide receiver in the league. So I'm definitely going to be on him. It's 3 straight games he's broken the 100-yard bonus for receiving. I think he's going to see a massive target share here again at home against a bad defense here in the Cardinals. But the Cardinals have actually kind of some of those games, what we think is going to shoot out with them is kind of turned into a dud a couple times this year. So I'm kind of just going to be off of this game. I'm going to use it more so like one-offs. I think Irv Smith is a fine tight end option there, 3,500. He's had back-to-back games with 4 catches, I believe. So that's fine there. He caught a touchdown last game too, it looks like. So I think that's interesting there. I'm not going to play Dalvin Cook. I know that'll probably tilt me when Justin Jefferson does all the work to get down to like the 1-yard line. They let Cook just plunge in there like they do Zeke for the Cowboys. But I'm going to be off of Cook at that price tag. I don't really see much for the Cardinals either. Zach Ertz's targets came down quite a bit once Hopkins came back last week. So maybe that's something to note, or it could just be a one-off type deal. But it's something I'm going to keep monitoring, though, going forward. Hopkins is fine. 7,400 is a good price tag, but I'm just not sure I'm going to get too much of this game, maybe off of a couple of one-offs. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. Justin Jefferson, by far my favorite play in this game. I'll get as much of him as I can. It's hard, though. I mean, he's really, really expensive, 9,100 on DraftKings and FanDuel at 9K as well. So you do have to sacrifice to get him in, but dude is an absolute stud. And if the touchdowns start coming, right, he could be an absolute slate breaker. I do think he's going to have some of those games he already has. I think back in, was it week 1 or week 2, he had that monster performance. Locks, what are your thoughts here, Cardinals and Vikings?
Yeah, this is actually going to be, I think, one of my favorite games to get to. I think Kyler Murray goes overlooked a lot. And he sucked this year, but I think Hopkins just makes him a better player. He's going to just pepper Hopkins with targets. We already seen it the first week back. He had 14 targets. So, I mean, I think that's just going to continue. So I'm going to get to Murray with Hopkins quite a bit, I think, just to be different from that Dolphins game. So that's where I actually like to be this week. And then I'm going to run it back with Jefferson. I mean, to me, that's 3 studs that could potentially score a ton of points for me. So a way to get different, a way to get off of that other game. I'm not too high on Dalvin Cook. There's other running backs that I think I'm going to get up to and down to. So not too high on him. Jefferson's really my only thought on that side. Maybe a little bit of Thielen just to save you almost 3K on that side. So some of them I'll throw in a little Thielen on that. And then I still like Ertz. I mean, Hopkins took a little bit of his targets, but he still likes him in the red zone too. So I even think if you go Murray, Hopkins, Ertz, run it back with Jefferson, something like that, I mean, you're going to get a little different away from that Dolphins stack. So that's where I'm going to be quite a bit actually this week, I think.
Yeah, I think you'll see. I'm kind of with you guys. I'm not really want to play Dalvin Cook, but I do think you'll see him go pretty low owned for a guy in a really good spot, getting most of the work. It just seems like I think most people are going to want to pay down a little bit at running back for guys like Pollard, Ken Walker, or, there's other studs, McCaffrey, Henry, Barkley, Josh Jacobs, who we'll talk about next. So, I think, we're kind of following the chalk a little bit in this game, but I do think Justin Jefferson clearly the guy you want. I like that run back though, Locks, or the Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson. I mean, that is a potential.
It could break the slate.
Yeah, for sure. Because we know Kyler Murray can get done with his legs. Obviously, it looks like the offense is going to run largely through Hopkins. And then, Justin Jefferson, obviously, with the bring back. So, that makes a lot of sense. I'll probably join you with some of those stacks. Let's go to the next game, Las Vegas and New Orleans. Josh Jacobs just running absolutely wild this season. Raiders 2-point favorites, 49.5 total. Man, Jacobs, look at these last 3 games. 37, 33, and 39 fantasy points. A little bit of a price bump here up to 7,500, but this Las Vegas running game looks like, and Josh Jacobs, it looks like borderline unstoppable. Obviously, nothing's, truly unstoppable, but man, tough fade right now. Of course, you've got Devontae Adams if you want to get a little leverage against what I assume will be Josh Jacobs chalk. New Orleans side, it looks like Dalton's going to be back in there. Obviously, you have the threat of Taysom Hill, but Chris Olave, I think, is a decent play. 14 targets last week, 7 catches. He looks like a true beast. 6K, I think the price is reasonable for him. And then you've got Alvin Kamara as kind of the main cog there too. So Yeah, this one, locks, I think is certainly one where, I think the main pieces in this game all look pretty good to me, but I don't know if I'm going to be going to many secondary stuff here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. With Jacobs, I can't get behind it for that long. I mean, come on. He's scored what, 6 touchdowns last 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
I think that ends. I'm going to say he doesn't get in the box. That's my call of the week. He's not scoring this week. So I'm going to be under the field on him. He has looked like a stud, so that's really actually hard for me to say, but I'm just one that he hasn't ran like that forever. I don't see it continuing this week. Saints, I think, are going to try to stop him. So I actually like the passing game a little. I like Davante Adams. I like Waller if he's back. Do we know if he's back, or is he still questionable? He practiced limited, I think.
Yeah, I think he's
questionable. Yeah, I think he's still questionable.
If he plays, I actually like him against the Saints here. I like Adams and Waller. The other side, I like Kamara and Olave. Honestly, for the high total in this game, I'm going to be kind of off. I'm going to be under on this one, I think. I'm not a huge fan of this game this week. So just those 4 pieces, and that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Snyder, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. I definitely like Chris Olave in this game. I know he's going to be pretty popular, but the price tag still hasn't really caught up to what he's been doing so far. So I think I'm going to have some of him. I mean, he's just been great. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 straight games with over 15 points with a 20-plus point ceiling. So I think he's fine there. Davante Adams is listed questionable, it looks like. I think the Saints team has actually been getting thrashed by opposing receivers this year. So I'm going to look into Adams. I don't think anybody is going to get to him either. Just checking on his ownership here. Yeah, he's going to be under 10%. So I think he's definitely interesting for returns. Get a high total here. I'll be looking to some Adams because I do agree with Locks. I think that regression kind of hits Jacobs in the face here soon, and maybe it's right here. Generally, the Saints have had a pretty good rushing defense over the years, so maybe they can kind of limit him there, and maybe Adams and Renfro or something take over here. Looks like Kamara is going to be getting some ownership, so I think I'm going to be fine just getting off of him. I generally don't like to play Kamara when he's priced over 7K just because it seems like Taysom Hill just gets all the goal line work, and it's really tough to play a running back when you don't know if he's going to be getting all the goal line work. Yeah, he's going to catch some passes and stuff, but I mean, I think his red zone and green zone activity is definitely limited with Taysom on the team. So I think just a few one-offs for me in this game too, like Olave, Davante Adams. I think he's fine. I think Waller is definitely in play if he plays, since we don't have any like stud tight ends on this slate. If he suits up, I definitely can have him in the player pool for sure.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Olave, I think, is my favorite kind of contrarian, not super contrarian, but my favorite, a little bit off the board play. Maybe I'll join you guys on the Josh Jacobs fade, and we can all be miserable together as he gets another 3 touchdowns. But
he's going off for 3 touchdowns now.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have some Josh Jacobs, but not going to go crazy. A lot of good running backs out there, including one in the next game, New England and the New York Jets. Really low total in this one, sitting at 40.5. The Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. Patriots look real bad on, was that Monday night, I think, against the Bears. Looking to bounce back here. It will be Mac Jones, I think, under center. Obviously, there's kind of a little bit of a quarterback controversy there between Jones and Zappy. We'll see how that shakes out. Zach Wilson, I don't think anybody's going to Zach Wilson. At least I'm not. This game's pretty ugly, Snyder. Ramondre Stevenson, we'll see if he continues to get all the work for New England. Damian Harris was active that last game, but really wasn't involved. Just 3 carries, 4 total touches. So, could continue to be the Ramondre Stevenson show. If it is, I think he's a decent play at 6,400. But, man, I don't see too much here, to be honest. Talk me into some new plays from the Jets and Patriots if you can.
I don't really see too much here either. It looks like Stevenson's going to be like upwards of 20% owned, maybe right around 20% owned. If that's the fact, I think I'm going to be off of him. I think Harris will be incorporated more here. Interesting to see what they do with the QB deal there, but I think this is going to be like a slow slog game. 40-point total here. I really don't want too much here. I think Michael Carter is interesting under 6K. Yeah, they brought in James Robinson, but I think Carter kind of gets the lion's share in all the pass game work here. as they kind of incorporate Robinson into their offense. So I think Carter's interesting. He'll probably be like 5% or under owned. So I think he's interesting for tournaments. I really don't see much anything for it's pretty bare for me. If you're looking for like a punt, maybe go for like a Braxton Berrios. He's under 4K. He's like 3.7, but I don't think I could really get there. He caught 3 passes last week, but I think that's even a little too thin. So I think I'm just mainly just going to be off of this game. Full fade probably.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Locks, your thoughts here, Patriots and Jets?
Not much. One player. I think I'm gonna play Stevenson, and then the rest of the game's gone.
Yeah,
I'll keep it simple for you.
Yeah, if it's Jets and Patriots, that's the shootout that you need this week. I guess it'll be someone else that's winning the $1 million, because I'm not going much with this game at all. Just don't trust these quarterbacks. I think it's going to be, like you said, a slow, run-heavy game, defensive-oriented. No thanks. With 11 games to choose from, I will pass on the Jets and the Patriots for the most part. Ramondre Stevenson being the lone exception, but even him, I mean, it's going to be pretty chalky in one of the worst game environments. So I'll probably be a little bit lower on the field on Stevenson myself.
Same.
We'll keep it moving. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia is next. Eagles coming off the bye, right? Yeah, they are at home here. Big favorites, of course, over the Pittsburgh Steelers. 10.5-point favorites. Biggest favorite on this slate of 43 total. Kind of know the story with Philadelphia. It's Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Of course, Miles Sanders taking most of that work at running back, but really not much else going on for any other Eagles. And then Pittsburgh is kind of interesting. Pickett, had 44 attempts in that game against Miami. They only put up 10 points through 3 picks again, so he's been turning the ball over. Certainly the Philly defense, you talk about perhaps locks paying up for the Dallas defense. I think a Philadelphia defense, another one you could absolutely pay up for. They've been great this season, probably got a little bit healthier off the bye. At home, Eagles still undefeated. The World Series is in town. The link is going to be rocking in Philly. Tough spot for a rookie quarterback to go in there. So I do like that Eagles defense. Paying up for defense this week, I think could work out. Pittsburgh, really the only guy I'm looking at is George Pickens, who I think is going to be a stud. I think he's going to be the main target for Kenny Pickett. So he's an interesting guy if you want to run it back. And yeah, the Hurts stacks are interesting. We've seen Hurts and the Eagles offense really slow down in the second half when they're getting out ahead of games. And that seems like it'll be the case here, Locke. So I'm a little worried about the upside for a guy like Jalen Hurts when he's 8,300. He's the most expensive quarterback on the slate this week. So kind of an interesting game here, one that I think myself, I probably will be a little bit lower on it than the field. Your thoughts here, Pittsburgh and Philly?
Yeah, there's some pieces here I like, but like you said, it could easily turn into a blowout, and that's what scares me. I've loved Hurts all year. I mean, I'll continue to love the guy just because he runs the ball. He's been crushing the first halves. But like you said, yeah, he gets out there these leads, and then they slow way down. So it's hard to trust. I mean, he's the only guy priced up that high, so it's going to be super low owned, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I think a lot of people are going elsewhere there. So if you can get him at low ownership and it's not a blowout, you could steal some stuff there because the guy can go for 35, 40 at any given point. So, I mean, I'm going to get to him. He's definitely going to be in my pool. I think he's only going to come in. He's going to be under 10% owned. So you can definitely get there. I like pairing him with AJ Brown, Goddard. I'm not as high on Devontae Smith, but to save the salary from AJ, I can see getting there too. But those 4 guys on that side, I never play their running backs. I hate Miles Sanders. I can't do it. So I won't be playing him. On the other side, the only guy I really like out of that side is Pickens. Deontay Johnson is interesting, but I think he's going to get guarded by Slay probably. Yeah. So I like Pickens in this game. He scored his first touchdown last game. Pickett loves throwing on the ball, so that's probably the only piece from the Pittsburgh side I'll be on. And then I like to call on the Philadelphia defense for sure. Them and the Cowboys are interesting. With Hurts, it's hard because there's so many other spend-up spots I want to get to, like at wideout with Jefferson and all those guys. So It's hard to get up to Hurts, but I'll be sprinkling them in for sure.
Yeah, a couple very cheap quarterbacks that are in play we'll get to in these afternoon games as well that really provide a huge discount from a guy like Jalen Hurts. I just want the Eagles to get in like a full-out shootout scenario, and he's going to absolutely crush. But the defense is playing so well. I don't see Pittsburgh keeping pace here. Snyder, what are your thoughts between the Eagles and the Steelers?
Yeah, I think this is like a phenomenal GPP spot, though. I really like Jalen Hurts under 10%. AJ Brown's probably going to be 5%. I think he's a great tournament play. I don't think he's really hit his ceiling yet. He's averaging just over 8 targets a game, so I think he's going to get the work. If he goes for like 150 and 2 here at 5% ownership, I mean, I think that's something I might be interested in. I know the Eagles kind of get out to those big leads, smash the first half on their games, just like the Ravens. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if the Eagles scored 28 points in the first half here and Hurts gets 4 touchdowns, gets 2 to AJ Brown, maybe 1 to Goddard or something like that. So I'm gonna be over the field on Hurts, AJ Brown stacks, and then I might even double stack with little Dallas Goedert there at 5K. I do like Pat Freiermuth for the Steelers as well, under 4K. He had 8 catches last week. It looked like they were just going right at him, back and back and back throughout that second half. So definitely, probably would be only my Freiermuth. I do like George Pickens. I think George Pickens is a stud. The Eagles do have a couple of really good cornerbacks, so it would be the only thing that kind of limits me there. But definitely like the Philly side here for tournaments.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, if Pittsburgh can keep up, I think it'll be Pickens who ends up having a big game if they somehow can get it done and force the Eagles to keep their foot on the gas. In that case, yeah, like you said, could be an awesome tournament stack because I do think the Eagles are going to come in pretty low owned in this one. We'll keep it going. That concludes the early games, 4 afternoon games to talk about. First of which is Tennessee and Houston. Texans 1-point favorites here. Lowest total on the slate, sitting at 39. And then the big news, of course, Malik Willis going to get the start for Tennessee at quarterback. He's an interesting player for DFS purposes because he's, kind of a running back. I would say I don't know. I'm not going to call him Lamar Jackson, but I think that's probably the most similar play style of any quarterback in the league to him. Not saying he's going to be anywhere near that good, but that kind of upside when you can get it done with your legs, which he certainly can. So it'll be interesting to see Willis out there. Of course, you've got Davis Mills and this Houston passing attack, which has been really bad all year long. Nico Collins out for this game, and then Brandon Cook's also questionable. So they're going to be potentially down to kind of bare bones at wide receiver. The Texans will be. So I guess maybe you could look to some value there. But yeah, Snyder, we'll stick with you. What do you expect to see out of Malik Willis? And then, obviously the running backs here, Derrick Henry and Dameon Pierce, both guys who, can potentially go off as well. So interesting game here. And I'm excited to see Willis out there, see what he can do. But your thoughts here, Snyder?
Yeah, I definitely like the big dog here. I'm going to be going right back to him. I've been playing him the last 3 or 4 weeks, so I'm not going to stop. It's getting to that point in the season where he kind of starts to get it going even more. So his carries are going up the last 4 weeks. He had 30 carries last week. He had 28 the week before. So they're starting to ramp up the big dog King Henry like he usually does. Just didn't get in the box last week. Had over 100 yards the 4th straight game. Just didn't find the end zone, which is kind of limiting his upside. But I think he's definitely like a shoe-in for 20 to 25 points in this game. If he finds the box a couple times, we could see that 35-point game or something. So I'm gonna have quite a bit of the big dog again, and people just keep not playing him. Like he's been like right around 10% owned. So if he's gonna continue to be a little under-owned, definitely have some interest in there. Dameon Pierce is interesting. I think you could play him and Henry together. Just the way the game kind of scripts out. He's gonna probably see 20 touches, $6,300 to the fair price tag. Looking at the defenses here, I think Tennessee's been terrible against the pass. Yeah, they haven't been that good. They gave up 25 points to the Colts RBs last game, so definitely there. I don't think I'm going to be too much outside of the running backs in this game, though. And even with the Malik Willis, he's a mobile, so maybe that limits Houston. Houston's got to take some guys out of the box. They can't just stack the box. They got to play a spy or something to kind of maybe limit or even give Henry even more running room, possibly up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's plan here with their rookie quarterback in there, who's probably, frankly, not quite ready to really be an NFL starter. I mean, I think the plan was for him to, learn the whole season behind Tannehill, kind of forced into action here. I mean, 28 and 30 carries, like you said, SNYDER, for Henry in the last 2 games. They're going to lean on him heavily. He has absolutely gashed Houston over these last couple of seasons. Houston, I think definitely a bottom 5 run defense, arguably the worst in the league. This is a potential game where Derrick Henry could just go absolutely nuclear, 30 carries, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, something like that, I think is certainly possible. So I do like him, Locks. Your thoughts on Henry, Malik Willis, and this game in general?
Yeah, I'm interested to see Willis. I don't think I'm going to get there on this slate. Maybe a few, just because of if I'm 150 and I'm going to throw him in there. You have to at 5K at the QB spot. It allows you to spend up a whole lot of other places, but only a couple. This game is fairly simple for me. I mean, Derrick Henry, I think, is just going to absolutely smash this week. Yeah. I think he scores at least once, definitely, possibly 2 or 3 times. They're just going to smash the ball to him all freaking game. So I'm going to have all the Derrick Henry this week, to be honest with you. I'm not too high on Pierce this week. I think Tennessee's D is actually somewhat decent, so I'm not too high on him because really he's the only guy you got to stop in that offense for the most part. And then you basically stop them. The only guy I do have interest on the Houston side a whole lot is Philip Dorsett, possibly at 3.2 if Nico Collins misses. Just some value because there's a lot of other spend-up spots. So at 3.2, why not take a shot at him? He catches a few balls, and he gets you there. So I don't mind throwing him in there. But other than that, I'm not too high on this game at all, other than smashing Henry.
Yeah, I think Henry is going to go.
Do you have any conviction on Cooks here? I mean, this is the spot. If Cooks can't perform here against this atrocious pass defense, who they should be behind. I was just looking into him a little bit. He's still at 5'9", but his game log is not looking too inviting.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I actually don't mind him. I mean, I think he might get peppered because I think their run defense actually isn't bad. So I think he might have to throw, and he's going to get peppered with targets. But, yeah, I mean, I'm going to save the 2.7 and go down to Philip Dorsett and hope he catches a few balls.
Yeah, makes sense. I just think it's going to be the King Henry show and probably a Tennessee win is my guess. But we'll see. I'll be surprised, though, if Derrick Henry doesn't have a pretty big game. We get to the next game on the slate, the Washington Commanders and Indianapolis Colts, another game with the old veteran QB being, I guess, injury replacement. Matt Ryan ruled out for this game. I think I saw Locks that they were going to go to, is he a rookie? Sam Ehlinger, who looked pretty good in the preseason. He's 4K. I can't remember having a 4K quarterback on DraftKings. It seems like it's been a while if it's happened. But he's interesting to me. I think he's the better play than Malik Willis, to be honest. I think he can play a little bit. The matchup is pretty good here against the Commanders, who also will have a different quarterback. Well, Taylor Heineke, he was in there last week. Actually played decently well. At least got Terry McLaurin kind of back involved. But, yeah, the Colts are interesting with Ehlinger. He's got pretty good weapons, I think. Michael Pittman can play. I like Alec Pierce, and Paris Campbell has kind of came out of nowhere a little bit these last 2 weeks. 11 and 12 targets. Now those were from Matt Ryan, but yeah, all the Colts receivers, Pittman, Paris Campbell, and Alec Pierce are essentially 100% snap share guys. So if you do like Ehlinger, you've got 3 guys that you can kind of look toward, all of whom are, except for Pittman, relatively inexpensive. So I kind of like Sam Ehlinger a little bit, Locks. Interested to hear your thoughts on him and then this game in general as well.
Yeah, I joked about it on the First Look show, actually, that I was going to 150 Ehlinger and just just pay up everywhere else, baby.
Yeah.
I'm winning the freaking Millie with Sam Ehlinger. I don't think I can 150 him in all of them, but I will definitely be sprinkling him in. I mean, he opens up so many other spots that you can just pay up for. I mean, we like Jefferson, we like Derrick Henry, I like Jonathan Taylor, but at the same time, I got a 4K quarterback, so I can pay up a lot of other spots. So I'm definitely going to have him in my pool. Definitely looked good in the preseason, and I'm glad to see he's getting a start. So very interesting game. I mean, there's a ton of value pieces out of this game you can get to. If you start him with like Campbell and Pierce, I mean, heck, you got all kinds of salary left to spend. So definitely something that could pop off against this Commanders team. It's interesting. Obviously, don't put all your eggs in this basket, but if you're playing tournaments, I mean, it's definitely a way you can get different for sure. That whole Colts side is definitely interesting. On the other side,
do you have a preference between the Colts wide receivers, Lux?
What's that?
Do you have a preference between the Colts wide receivers?
It's tough with a new quarterback. So that's where it's hard for me. Obviously, Pittman's always a stud, so you can always go there. I don't know. I'd like to save the $3,000 with a new quarterback. We haven't seen him. Who is his favorite target's going to be? So why not spend down and go to Campbell and Pierce and get different? Because most people that play Ellinger are going to be jamming Pittman in there. So I like getting different in that aspect. If I had to choose, I mean, I'd say Pierce probably, but that's just my call out of those guys. And then Campbell he's looked good. But like you said, Matt Ryan's thrown to him the last 2 weeks, so we don't know. It's too hard to call for me. I'll sprinkle them all in. On the other side, Brian Robinson probably, and then Heineke always seems to love McLaurin. So I actually like McLaurin a lot this week too. He scored last week finally, so good to see him. Oh, excuse me. Good to see him back a little bit. So this could be a sneaky, possible high-scoring game. I don't see it happening, but if it does, better have Ellinger, baby.
Yeah, the thing with the Ellinger stack, he's so cheap, and then Pierce or Campbell, if they have a good game, they're 4.5 and 4.6K, so you get like that touchdown connection between the two, and they just don't have to do that much, especially with all the good spend ups that we think are going to go off on this slate to kind of make your lineups work. So I'm in on the. I'm also not going to do 150 Sam Ellinger, but I'm in on the Sam Ellinger train with you. And I'll probably use mostly his cheaper wide receivers.
If you do it, I'll do it.
We'll see in the morning how we're feeling. But I'll have plenty of Ellinger myself. Snyder, you're a big college football guy. I assume you've seen Sam Ellinger play recently in college football. What's your opinion on him as a quarterback? And are you going to go there with me and Locks and DFS this week?
Yeah, I think he's a solid option. I think he's actually going to come in lower owned than people think. I think people are going to generally slowly start to talk themselves off. And generally, we see the quarterback ownership just get spread out because everybody wants to play their stacks.
What lowered Ellinger's ownership is the Malik Willis news. I think that's going to take a chunk out of it, to be honest. So
I could see like him coming in at like 10 to 13% owned or something like that. So I'm definitely going to be over that. I think. He was mobile quarterback, really good mobile quarterback in college and stuff. In the preseason, he's been well too. And I think he's rushed for like just over 170 yards in the preseason in the few games he played there. So he's definitely got the wheels there. I think I'm going to pair him up with Paris Campbell at 4,500. He's going to play the slot, and that's generally going to be the more easier target for him to get to, I think, in this game. And Campbell's been on a roll there in the last couple of games, so I'm going to go to him at 4,500. You can get that whole stack for 8,500. That's cheaper than even getting Justin Jefferson in your lineup. So definitely interested in that. And you can spend up everywhere else. You get King Henry, you can get Jefferson, you can do whatever you want. So I think that's definitely interesting there. And I think Brian Robinson is interesting coming back. The Colts rush defense has been exposed a few times this year. Robinson's still 5,600. I mean, that's a great price tag, I think, with some upside there. So he'll be in the pool for sure. But definitely like the Ellinger with Campbell stack this week, especially if he's going to slowly kind of get lower ownership than what we thought at the start of the week.
Yeah. All three on board with Ellinger. Can run it back with the McLaurin or Robinson, like you said. So potentially, despite the low total, could be a decent fantasy game here, but largely because some of these pieces are obviously so cheap. We'll go to the next game, San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams. 42 total in this one. Kind of surprised how low that is, but the Rams haven't looked quite like themselves. Of course, we're going to see we think we're going to see the Christian McCaffrey show. Was kind of marginally involved last week, 8 carries, 2 catches, but I do expect SNYDER that it'll be McCaffrey who, gets all the work here for San Francisco. I think he's interesting at 8,700, even in a tough matchup against the Rams. The Rams will be without Cam Akers here. It should be Darrell Henderson who gets most of the work. Malcolm Brown perhaps mixing in. But relatively low total, but McCaffrey's interesting, especially with no Deebo Samuel there. Got to think McCaffrey has a big role in this offense after getting acclimated to the offense over the last week or so. So your thoughts on McCaffrey and this game in general, SNYDER?
Yeah, for sure. McCaffrey came in off short notice and played 22 of the 79 snaps. So definitely expect him to be a near every play, every down back. I'd say at least 75% of the snaps this week. So I definitely think he's going to be interesting in tournaments. He'll be under 10% for sure. So he's got that slate breaking upside. And another guy for the 49ers, I was on, I think we were all on him last week, was Kittle. Scored 22 points last week off the 16-point game the week before. And if the Rams kind of push the Niners here, they're going to be leaning on Kittle again. So I think he's a fine option. If they pay more attention to McCaffrey too, they could leave the middle of the field wide open for Kittle. So 10 targets, 9 targets in his last 2 games. So definitely interested in George Kittle here. Cooper Kupp is another guy that's probably going to be very low owned here. Higher price tag, 9,600. I'm seeing, right around 5 to 8% ownership for Kupp. So, I mean, he's always right there to bust a slate, but I don't think I'm going to get to him. I'm going to be kind of under on this game. Yeah. The 49ers usually have the Rams. They usually handle them pretty well over the last couple of years. So I think I'm going to be generally off of this game. Maybe some McCaffrey and some Kittle mixed in.
Yeah, I mean, I get it with the ownership, but hard for me to play Cooper Kupp over Justin Jefferson, especially when Jefferson's a cheaper guy. I would take Jefferson straight up over Kupp, just like that game environment better in Minnesota. I'll certainly mix in Christian McCaffrey. Locks, your thoughts on Kupp, McCaffrey, any San Francisco pass catchers you're going to outside of McCaffrey with Deebo Samuel out? Your thoughts in general on this game?
Yeah, with Deebo out, it actually makes me like Ayuk and Kittle a little bit. Yeah. I mean, Garoppolo loves those two. He throws to them a decent amount, so that actually opens them up for me. I mean, last week Kittle had 9 targets, caught 6 balls, got in the end zone, just missed the 100-yard bonus. And then Ayuk 2 weeks in a row has gotten 11 targets. Yep. I mean, 2 weeks ago he scored 2 touchdowns. Garoppolo loves that guy. So I think, to be honest, I'm going to be sprinkling in quite a bit of Kittle and Ayuk in this game. I'll be a little bit on McCaffrey. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet in that offense. He could be a stud with Deebo out, and we just haven't seen it yet. So I won't be too high. I'll probably be about at the field on him. Those other 2 guys I mentioned, I will probably be over the field on. I mean, I think they're going to be low owned, and if Garoppolo's throwing, I see them 2 catching the ball. On the other side, I don't have much interest other than Kupp and Higbee. That's all the only 2 players I've liked on this team all year, and it ain't going to change, I don't think. So Kupp and Higbee on that side, and then Ayuk, McCaffrey, and Kittle on the other side, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page for San Francisco and the LA Rams. All right, let's get to the last game on the slate, the New York Giants and Seattle Seahawks. Kenneth Walker III with a monster performance. Last game out, obviously benefiting from the injury to Rashad Penny. What did he go? 23 for 167 and 2 touchdowns. Massive game for Walker. Didn't really even get a price bump, sitting at 6,500 against the Giants, who have been absolutely awful against opposing teams' rushing attacks. So Ken Walker, I think a guy that you've got to consider at 6,500. Of course, on the other side, you've got Saquon Barkley. Still hasn't had the monster performance, hasn't put it quite all together, but this is a good matchup for him as well. So I really like both running backs. The pass games, the guy that I'm most looking at, obviously the Giants traded away Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs. Wan'Dale Robinson, 8 targets last game, 6 catches. He was very involved. I think he's interesting at 4,700. And then we'll see on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But I don't really see playing either of those guys in this one. Relatively low total here. What's it sitting at? Where is the number? I don't know. Oh, there it is, 44.5. So yeah, not that low, I guess. But Seahawks 3-point favorites. But really, SNYDER, it's the two running backs that I'm mostly focused on here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I think the Metcalf news is interesting. I think he's going to sit out, though. That'd be a big boost to Lockett. Then looking at these running backs, so Walker's still underpriced, I think. He's going to see 20-plus touches again for the third straight week. He's found the box in 3 straight games, too, so it's kind of hard to go away from him. I haven't really been playing Saquon much this year, so I'll probably be out on him just because I want to play more of Derrick Henry, so I'll probably just stick to that. Looking at the wide receivers here, we got Wan'Dale Robinson still under 5K. His snap share went up like we expected it to last week. 8 targets last week. I think this is another great spot for him under 5K. 4,700 is a really attractive price tag for him. I don't think I'm going to go back to the Marquise Goodwin there. He did catch the 2 touchdowns last week, but I think I'm going to be off of him. I think tight end here, Noah Fant, 2,800, under 3K. I mean, it's a cheapie. He had the worst game of his season last week, but I expect him to kind of bounce back and maybe he puts up like 7 to 10 points again, under 3K. I definitely think that's viable on this slate with the way the tight ends are kind of shaken out. So I'll have him in the pool, and then probably I'll lock it for sure if Metcalf's out, and then Wan'Dale Robinson. And I think I'm going to have some Walker. I think his ownership's probably going to be 25 to 30% or something, but definitely going to be maybe slightly over on Walker, but right around the field probably.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll be back on the Ken Walker train. Just the matchup is so good here at home, and they're going to lean on him, especially with the receivers banged up. So expecting a big workload from Kenneth Walker. He's talked about it last week, but he just looks awesome to me out there. I think he's going to continue to get the job done. What are your thoughts on this game, Watts?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I love both running backs in this game. Those are the obvious choices here. I think Barkley has a great game. Wan'Dale Robinson, I love that call. I've been on him since he came back from his injury. Darius Slayton, actually, Daniel Jones likes quite a bit, so I could see him possibly having a decent game. I mean, we know Seattle's defense isn't great.
Yep.
So I could see him having a decent game. And then the value piece, one of my best values this week that I think I might get to is their tight end, Miarek, or however you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's 2.8. I mean, I'm going to be spending up a wide receiver and running back, so I'm going to have to find value somewhere. So I think I'm going to play him a little bit. And on the other side, just Kenny Walker and Lockett. I don't think Metcalf plays. So Kenny Walker and Lockett is pretty much it for me on that side. But this is an interesting game. I mean, it could shoot out, to be honest with you, just because both defenses aren't very good. There could be a lot of value here that you can find. I mean, there's not a single Giants wide receiver over 4.7. So if you wanted to get crazy on this game, it's possible it could happen. So definitely an interesting spot for some value.
Yeah, for sure. A good game to wrap up this slate and wrap up this show. Thanks for tuning in. As always, hit the like and subscribe on your way out if you haven't done so. We've got, of course, all the football content in the world over at Run Fear Sports. If you want to join the movement, you can use promo code RPSHeater25 for 25% off your first month's payment. We do have a couple free shows coming up on Sunday morning, and of course the Up to Lock show led by JSU and company for subscribers. That'll do it for the Week 8 Millie Maker Roundtable. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Thanks for tuning in as always. For SNYDER, for Locks, I'm DC, and we'll check you next time.